Happy Wednesday night. Happy 2023. Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. As always, thank you so much for being with us tonight. If you have not already, please subscribe to WDWNT and also hit like on this episode so that many people will be able to find us. It's a great show. You know what? Tonight's show is somewhat unique and calls for a different type of introduction. With me is Desi. How are you, Desi?
Hi, I'm here in chilly Florida. The cold bothers me here.
Yeah. So as you saw from the thumbnail, we're doing Frozen tonight, and when we were talking about what to do in January, it just felt right to do some winter-themed movies. So we're starting with Frozen. We've got some other stuff coming your way this month, including Snow Dogs. That's going to be a fun one,
Mm.
and a couple others. But thank you guys for joining us. So this is our first show back from 2023. I wanted to start with something big. This one was a massive hit, and you would go, well, how are we going deep in the plus to find Frozen? I think, again, it's one of those things that when you get Frozen, you're not the first one that it's not the first one that you would go in and go, let me catch Frozen, unless of course you have a little kid, a daughter probably, who was like, hey, let me watch that movie. I feel like this movie's for everybody. The first time I saw it, I took my daughter to see it, and just freaking loved the movie, everything about it. So tonight I think we want to go through it a little bit differently rather than scene by scene, because everybody already knows it. It's going to be 10 years old this year, which is hard to imagine. But I want to talk about kind of a little bit more of the high concept stuff from this movie. But I want to start, Desi, and ask you, the first time you saw it, when did you see it? Where did you see it? Who were you with? What did you eat? Was there popcorn involved?
I had kind of a unique experience the first time I saw it. So when I saw it, I was working for an ad agency that had Walmart as a client, and I was working on some copy for Walmart.com, and they were going to have this whole landing page for Frozen, but I hadn't seen the movie. And so another copywriter and I went to go watch it to do research. So I basically just went to go do research for work, but I ended up really enjoying it and was glad that I went to go see it. Even though I think I was in my 20s when it came out, and had no kids, and not really any other reason to go see it in the theater at the time.
In my 20s, question mark?
I think it was
Yeah,
my
so
20s.
2013 is when this came out. It's 2023 now. It came out in November. They were, I feel like it was kind of the new beginning of the Disney era. This one, to me, was pretty special. And again, I don't know if it's because I didn't really know what I was getting when I walked into it. I walked into it not knowing the whole thing. I knew of the Snow Queen, the story of the Snow Queen, and I know that Walt had been working back even when he was alive on the idea of a Snow Queen movie. This didn't end up being that, though. This ended up being something very different. And you and I were talking about this before the show, that your boys were like, Frozen, that's a girls' movie, which I tell them, no, it's not. But it was one of those things where, they had Tangled rather than calling it Rapunzel. There was a motive there to say, you know what, if we call it Rapunzel, it's a princess movie. But if we call it Tangled, it's a story about, Rapunzel and then also this other guy. And I feel like Frozen was sort of that same thing. It's an ensemble movie to me, rather than being a princess movie. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the main character is definitely the princess Anna, with secondary character also being the queen. So I still call it a princess movie, although Kristoff and Hans and Olaf are there as well. Um,
But kind of like Brave, it doesn't follow the necessarily the same, like, happily ever after, boy meets girl, like the whole love story of the normal one. It breaks that, and in general, there are a
right.
lot of twists in this one, right? So I mean, again,
Mm-hmm.
this Dawn said, "Who doesn't love Frozen?" It's almost 10 years old. I'm sure there's no spoilers here. We're all friends. We're going to talk about it, but like the Hans thing, as I'm rewatching this movie, the Hans arc. of him being the bad guy and him starting out being so lovable and quirky. And even at the very beginning, I noticed when he's there and he falls off into the water and he kind of looks back at Anna, it's not like a mwahaha. It's really more of like a ah, like he kind of like, hey, maybe I'm actually falling for this girl, and you're thrown. Like you don't know, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think, that he's going to be the bad guy, because at every turn he seems to be
No.
trying to help, trying to do good, and then he ends up
Mm-hmm.
being the bad guy. The same thing with the twist of, you expect that in the end it's going to be, the kiss from the prince that is the true love's kiss that saves her, but that's not the act of true love. And even again, as I'm rewatching it, and the trolls are like, you need an act of true love, and they're like, true love, and the one troll goes, an a true love's kiss, perhaps. So even like at that point, it's not saying this is the only choice.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they are the love experts, so it doesn't necessarily mean that, it's a romantic love. It just is a suggestion.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the trolls are probably my least favorite part of the whole movie, to be honest.
You know what? I'm not sure I disagree with that. When it opens up with the ice scene where the guys are getting the ice and cutting the bricks of ice. And as I'm watching that today, I was wondering, what does this really bring to the table? Like, what is this
Nothing.
setting for us? Like, it's already cold, and they're making ice, and then they go into into the castle, but that's not the story. So it didn't. I mean, and it's not like you're being authentic. Like in something like Pocahontas, it's being authentic about where you are and what's going on there. It just, I don't know. It didn't feel super authentic, because we're not talking about a real place. We're talking about a pretend place, and that's another thing. Like, why couldn't it have been Norway? Why did it have to be Arendelle?
I don't know.
Okay.
I assume that is how they make ice in Norway, but maybe they did kind of the Moana thing where it's not just based on Norway, but based on the Nordics in general. So maybe they pull from, Finland and Denmark and Estonia, um, as
Wow, that was
well
a big pull,
as
Estonia.
Norway. That's where I got the shirt.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, and this is Frozen inspired.
Yes.
You're
I
like, what do
mean,
I
I was
have that
trying to
looks
think of
Frozen?
what to wear. Yeah.
Yeah, I went with the Broadway Frozen T-shirt that I picked up when I saw the touring of Frozen. We can talk about the things that spun off of this movie, but let's talk about what's on Disney Plus when you go there, because when you type in Frozen, boy howdy, you got Frozen, Frozen 2, Frozen Fever, Olaf's Frozen Adventure, the Frozen Northern Lights, which is the Lego one. There's a sing-along version. There's the Olaf Presents Frozen 2 and Frozen 2 sing-along. And then Once Upon a Snowman, which is another short. And then you've got the Arendelle Yule log, and then like a different version of the Arendelle Yule log that's like paper. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like that there's this much stuff for Frozen that's out there. Like it doesn't seem like there's much. When you start to think about it, it seems like, well, Frozen's been around forever, and like we said, it's almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years this year. But I only think about the original movie and the sequel usually. I don't think that there's like, think of it as that much content.
I really like the Olaf shorts though.
Have you seen all of these Frozen things on here?
I didn't watch the Yule log for sure. I might have seen
What
the
is it?
majority of the rest though.
I think the Yule log's like 3 hours if you watch it until the loop. So you should jump in and watch that tonight if you can. We really like the Frozen, Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Like as far as a Christmas special, I mean, it's a holiday special where he's going around seeing how people celebrate the holidays. Very PC way to present that, by the way, because he's like, finding out what everyone's traditions are so that he can figure out what Anna and Elsa's are. So that one's fun. But yeah, you were talking about the Frozen shorts, the Olaf Presents. I was thinking
Yes.
about that today when we were talking about when he's given the play-by-play of Frozen, and he's like, oh, the parents are going away, and then he turns around and they're dead.
Kind of sad.
Yeah. So the parents die in a boat wreck at sea. And there's
Yep.
theories about this, Desi. There's theories about this
Yes.
that, hey,
There sure are.
like, so tell me your thoughts on the theory. And for those of you who don't know, this Disney like connected theory is basically that Anna and Elsa's parents were on their way to Rapunzel's wedding, and their ship
That's right.
sinks into the sea where Ariel is, and then they make it to the
Yep.
island where they have Tarzan, and then he's born. Um, do you call BS on that, or do you buy into that?
No, I buy in 100%. I think it's just fun to come up with these ideas and theories, and it pulls more weight into it. I don't know if I fully believe the entire Pixar theory. That one goes a little bit too far, but I like the idea that Anna and Elsa's long lost brother is Tarzan, and that, the ship that Ariel finds is the one from Anna and Elsa's parents. I mean, they are from Norway-ish, and Ariel is from Denmark, so they're like neighbors. It would make sense if Ariel finds that ship. And yeah, there you go. There's Rapunzel and Flynn coming back to pay their respects to Elsa because they're trading partners, and that's why her parents went to their wedding. So it all makes sense. It all ties together.
Yeah, that's I bet you're like, yep, all
And
ties together.
Tar and Tarzan's parents kind of look like the king and queen from this movie.
Maybe, I don't know. We talked about it, I think, a little bit when we did the review of Tarzan, and the death scene is definitely very different because when you see the boat in this one or the ship in this one, it gets consumed by the waves. And that one, they're able. There's a fire, and they're able to escape and then get some of the supplies. And this one looks like they're in the literally the middle of nowhere, and they're just enveloped by the ocean.
Yeah, but you're
In the
looking at it from
Tarzan
a
ones,
distance. You didn't see the other side of the
you're
ship. You didn't see
that's
the
fair.
side that was on fire and
That's fair.
that they rode off in.
No. No, we're not going to chart all that out, but you know what? That's fine. We'll buy. Believe what you want to believe. Believing is seeing, not seeing is believing, as according to the Santa Claus. So there's this theory, and then there's the stuff about Elsa and the fact that she can. Okay, she's got ice powers, and she
Yeah.
can make snow. That tracks. Freezing things, making snow, that tracks.
Bringing things to life,
Architecture and
make
construction, um,
clothes.
clothing, yeah, like that stuff. I mean, again, it's a fantasy, it's a children's movie, but it doesn't seem to make sense. That's the thing is, if you can show me why it makes sense, I believe it. I believe that if Superman can jump super high, super strong, he can get the wind behind him and he can fly. I
All right.
buy into it. But if it's not
Elsa's
consistent,
dress is kind of the color of ice, so I'm going to go with her dress is just totally made of ice. Why Olaf and Marshmallow are alive, that I can't really explain. Um, you know,
okay.
at least the castle is made of ice. Her dress could theoretically be made of ice. I can't explain the, you know, creating life out of ice thing.
Yeah. Neko's in chats talking about you don't end up in Africa when you leave Norway. It's a thinker. It's a
They
thinker.
went
Again,
really off course.
you know
Really
what?
off
I mean,
course.
Gilligan went off course. Anybody can go off course. Just chart it down. Just like write it out for me. And I'll buy into all of it. Um, yeah. So that's a thing. And then let's talk about the music because I feel like at its heart, the music is what makes Frozen. And as I'm watching it today, and like with the fam, and my wife is like, I think this is the best song, maybe the best Disney song ever. And she wasn't talking about Let It Go. She was talking about Do You Want to Build a Snowman?
Aw.
Because it's in
I,
a very it's a very musical movie. It's written the same way that Alan or Howard Ashman put together The Little Mermaid as kind of a musical. This is very much like a musical, and they tell through exposition the story of them getting older with the Do You Want to Build a Snowman? And they kind of cover all of it. It's like here they are when they're young, and she's trying to learn her powers, and Anna's trying to come to grips with being alone, and then they lose their parents, and then by the end of it, they're basically the people that we know for the rest of the movie. I think it's a 2 year difference, is what it says, between when that song ends and when the coronation happens. But when that's happening and that song's happening, it's it's a fun song, but there are a lot of fun songs in this one.
It starts out as a fun song, but it kind of ends at a downer. I wouldn't call the whole thing a fun song.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. And I know that the Anderson Lopez's who wrote this music, their daughters did some of the different ages of Anna and Elsa in the singing along the
Oh,
way, which
that's
I think
cute.
is kind of a neat, almost Easter egg sort of a situation. But when you are watching this movie, is there one song that you hear that you go, ugh, not this one?
No, I know what everybody else is probably going to say, but I like it. And I
Yeah,
think that
if you're watching along in chat, tell us, is there a song that you just hate?
probably because I have boys, I don't watch this movie that often, and they aren't obsessed with it with some other kids are. Um, so I haven't been overrun by the song like other people have
Are
possibly.
you thinking that most people are going to say "Let It Go" because it's kind of the
Yeah,
"It's a Small World" of this movie?
yeah.
Okay.
That's my guess. My personal favorite song from this movie is Love is an Open Door. I understand that, it doesn't really wind up well and that he winds up being the villain. But I remember in the theater being like, "Oh, that's so cute. I love it. They finish each other's sandwiches. That's adorable." Um, and the Jinx, Jinx again with the pinkies. It was super cute. And it was one of my favorite scenes in Happily Ever After. So I'm looking forward to getting that back.
Yeah. So there is a video that does that. I think it came on the DVD. It might have been just something that was out at the time. That is the "Let It Go" scene in 25 different languages. So all the different languages that it was sung in
Yes.
around the world. And I remember just being infatuated with that when it came out because I was just like, it's like here it is in English, here it is in French, and it just so seamlessly goes from one to the next. And it's, I mean,
When I was when I was learning German, I learned Let It Go in German to help me with my language translation and learning it better. So
sprechen Sie
there
Deutsch,
you
Fräulein?
go. Not very well.
Ah,
I I can say, let it go. I can
it's kind of like the Incredible Hulk, Ed
I
Norton
can say a
learning
lone
the good.
I can say a lonely kingdom and I am the queen. All of the really useful phrases.
I was going to say it's kind of like Ed Norton's character in the Bruce Banner learning Portuguese, I think it was, from Sesame Street. So same thing. Yeah, so I'm watching this, and like again, it gives me all the feels. I love this song, and I never got tired of this song, and I know that some people did. I thought it was like, not this one again, because there's actually, for I assume most of the people watching with us tonight, and thank you for being here, are people who are also parks people and have ridden the Frozen Ever After attraction. And that scene with Elsa when she's, when you're going backwards and she's doing the whole "Let It Go" thing, and you back in through the smoke and you hear the "Cold never bothered me anyway," and just the timing of it is so epic to me that like that's that moment again. That's where it hits me in the feels when I'm watching that when I'm riding that one. Totally worth it for that.
Yes.
The 3 hour wait during Christmas. Um, but yeah, I love Let It Go. Hot take in summer, I could I could fast forward through that one. And I know that's
Okay.
Josh Gad's
If
big
we're
moment, but
if we are picking one song to remove from this movie, that's probably the one. No,
no, the
no,
Trolls.
the Trolls. I'm sorry. The
I knew
Trolls
you would say
song,
that one.
that's the one that has to go.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, the Fixer Upper song. He's a bit of a fixer
Yes.
upper, or she's a bit of a
Yes.
fixer upper. Yeah. No, I get that. That's probably accurate. Um, but
Which that was the one point that my kids seemed to like the most, so I get why they put it in there. They put it in there for the 2-year-old audience.
yeah, Jared said I think "Let It Go" because it is overplayed. Yeah, I think that's what we thought as well. That you may get sick of it. Same thing as like the torture that Scar bears from Zazuth singing "It's a Small World After All." Anything but that. Um, you know, I again listening to it, I forget when I rewatch this movie how much I do love the music, and the music was such a big part of catapulting this thing. I mean, this was a juggernaut. This movie, I don't think they expected it to break the box office the way that it did back in the day, and I think
No.
they were very wise with the way they kind of held off with waiting for the sequel. And I liked the sequel. Now the sequel has good music too. Into the Unknown, I think, is a great song, especially when Panic at the Disco sings it. I like it. Um, you don't love it.
No, I don't love the sequel. I'm sorry. And I didn't love Into the Unknown as much as everybody else seems to love it. Um,
Okay.
and Panic at the Disco didn't do as good of a job as Demi Lovato singing Let It Go.
You know what's funny is I saw Demi Lovato in concert, and she sang "Let It Go," which normally doesn't
Did she?
happen. Yeah, normally when an artist does a Disney song, they don't usually perform it, no matter how big it was. They don't usually
Do you
perform it when they
know?
tour.
All right, sidebar. I was so disappointed that 98 Degrees did not sing their song from Mulan, True to Your Heart, when they played at Epcot. I'm like, you have a Disney song, you're at Epcot. Why would you not sing it? All right, sorry. You can go back to
No,
your
that's
Demi
okay.
Lovato story now.
No, I remember you almost missing, I think, Park Center for 98 Degrees. So yeah, thanks a lot. I
You
would
made it?
I meh, eh. Um, but it's really one of those things that I don't understand, because you would expect that they would want to market those songs, but I think in a lot of cases there's probably some, ownership that they're not allowed to do that stuff when they perform. But she did a full on version of "Let It Go." So
Was it
there were
good?
also some of the like Korean, like the K-pop singers who did their version of the radio version of "Let It Go" that I thought was pretty good. Yeah, she totally killed it. Obviously, it was Demi Lovato, and it was live, and it was awesome. Those radio songs, I think, are always, like, just it's great to hear them. You usually hear them during the credits, the end credits. So I don't know. I like the music top to bottom. I think it's really good, and I enjoy it. And I think it triggers a lot for me because of the memory I have of the movie, and watching it with my daughter when I was little. Like, I feel like I was doing like the "Let It Go" like arm gestures and everything when we came out of that theater. So let's talk about the cast. So to me, I was shocked at the time that Kristen
Mm-hmm.
Bell was such an amazing singer. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
had
was
known her
surprised
from
too.
Veronica Mars and other things, but like, for her to have come out as Anna, I think was just exquisite casting.
Mm-hmm. She was really good. I think that I had seen Wicked on Broadway, but I didn't really know who Idina Menzel was, until when you were showing the different languages, and the girl who sat next to me at work was like, "Wow, I can't believe they found so many people across the world to sing this who are as good as Idina Menzel." Um, so, and then obviously I figured out who she was after that. Certainly better than John Travolta did.
Idina Menzel performed "Let It Go." John Lasseter, look him up, kids. They've basically scrubbed him from Disney history, but John Lasseter was head of Disney Animation at the time, and at D23 brought out Idina Menzel before anyone had heard the song or before the movie was out, and she sang "Let It Go" in the arena there, and then they made it snow, and it was one of those, like, you get the Disney moment that you like, it gets your heart, you have goosebumps, the whole deal. It was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I'm honored and lucky that I was ever to be in that same room when she sang that, and had no idea at the time. Same thing with Anika Nani Rose came out and sang in the same room later on when they were promoting The Princess and the Frog. Actually, it was a different room, I think, but she did come out and sing the song before the movie ever came out. That was pretty cool. But not then this most recent D23, because they're opening up, these new frozen lands. They had three singers come out just like this one and sing Into the Unknown in three different languages on stage at D23. So it's really neat to see
Oh,
this,
that's cool.
to see the music kind of propel like that. But Idina Menzel, this movie, I don't know. I feel like she is a rock star because of this movie. And at the same time, she was at Epcot for if you've looked at Disney Plus, there is a Harmonious live event on Disney Plus. She was there for that, and I was talking to one of the cast members afterwards, and apparently Idina Menzel had come in there looking for how to get to the restroom, and she didn't know who she was. And I'm just thinking, what? How do you not know Idina? I mean,
I
especially
feel
if you're
like
at Disney.
she's got a very recognizable look.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But it's really one of those that's just like, she was in Enchanted and she was in Disenchanted and she was in, as you mentioned, Wicked. But she's always just been a Broadway star. But I really feel like she is Elsa and will always be Elsa. So it's kind of great that Disney had her at the time when they had her. Jonathan Groff, who is
Is
amazing
that
as Kristoff.
the
He's
king?
Chris. Yes, from Hamilton. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There's a video
Also,
of him singing that song from Hamilton in a bar, and he can't remember the words because it had been a while since he had done it, and the whole audience is
oh,
like prompting him with the words. But the first time I
they
think I saw him was Glee. He was Jesse, I think, was the character's name. But yeah.
they did not utilize his voice enough in this movie. He he only had the one reindeer are better than people song, right? Like I feel like if you're gonna get a Broadway caliber actor, you should throw in a better song than reindeer are better than people for like 2 bars.
Well, he has his big break in Frozen 2 with
Yeah.
Lost in the Woods, the boy band sort of a thing that he does. What, you're wincing. Is it that bad? Are you
I don't
that
like
against
Frozen
this
2.
movie?
I'm sorry. I don't like sequels or remakes in general. You know this.
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay. You got me there.
That's the answer. That is always
And
the
Back to the
answer, is
Future
Empire
too.
Strikes Back. Rewatch that one and tell me again how you feel about that one, because that's iffy. Back to the Future 1, masterpiece. Back to the Future 2, little choppy. Hot take.
All right.
Anyway, so again, like with this cast, you've got all of them, and then Josh Gad, who at the time seemed fairly unknown, and now it feels like he does like all his work
Everything.
with Disney. Yeah, like it's kind of crazy.
He's
There was
everywhere.
a sitcom that he created called 1600 Pin, and it was about him being the president's like bumbling son named Skip, and I think he wrote it, created it, and he starred in it. And I think that was what he was doing around the time of him doing Olaf, and then of course now he's gone on to do Gaston, and he was rumored to have been working on a Muppet spinoff that got canceled. But I think
Oh.
that yeah, I think that if anything got a little bit borderline corny for me, or like overplayed, as Jarrett was talking about uh, the Let It Go, is I feel like Olaf got pushed a little bit too much to that line. I don't feel the same way about him now, but I feel like it's like they leaned into him a little too much. He was great in the movie, and rewatching it now, it's like the comic timing is so good.
He's the
But
mater of this movie.
yeah, I can see that. But again, Mater's one of those that sometimes they push him too far to the point where it's like it's oversaturation. But then sometimes they back off, and it's like Mater's Junkyard Jamboree at Disney California Adventure, perfect, so good. And again, like I don't know, I can't tell you what makes the difference of the oversaturation. Sometimes they create a character specifically to be the merchandise character. I feel like they made that
Hmm.
joke in Strange World about Splat, that he's like
I haven't
the
seen that one
merchandise
yet.
character. Do what?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Interesting. Um, Sometimes the merchandise character isn't as in your face as like the capybara from Encanto. Like that wasn't a big deal in the movie, but they kind of merchandised it a little bit afterwards because it was cute and adorable. Same thing with uh, Pua in Moana. It's like he wasn't a big role in the movie and he wasn't in your face, but it was one of those things that like they merchandised him a lot afterwards because he's a lot friendlier, cuddlier than Hey Hey.
I would buy way more Hey Hey merchandise than Pua. Just personal opinion. And I think the
Wow.
Hey Hey, well, maybe it's just because I'm an Alec Tudyk stan. but I loved Hey Hey. I thought Hey Hey was so funny, and Pua was like, what did he do the entire movie, other
Looked
than get angry at her
adorable.
for eating pork?
Looked freaking adorable.
He was
I don't know.
barely even in the movie. He didn't
Well,
go with
that's what
her
I'm
on the
saying is
adventure.
when they introduced Pua, like I thought, oh, this is going to be the runaway character of the movie, and then from a comedy standpoint, and like I think Hey Hey steals the show for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, from an adorable little standpoint, I mean, come on, look at that little fella.
Yeah, Hey Hey's pretty cute too. Come on. And Hey Hey's got
Mm,
all of the pretty colors. And Hey Hey
mm.
actually goes on the adventure.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a turn here and come back to reality on this one. I wasn't going to do, and again, this just since we're about in the middle here, I just wanted to say again, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Please make sure to like the video if you haven't already. I wasn't actually going to do trivia tonight, but then I decided I am.
Uh-oh.
So, are you ready for some trivia questions? I mean, you've seen this movie, so
Uh,
you should know. You
yeah.
just recently
All
watched
right.
it. These are gonna be softballs, lobbing softballs over here.
I don't trust your softballs.
Anyway,
Okay, go ahead.
uh, how many brothers does Hans have?
12.
There you go. That's easy. 12 older brothers.
Yay.
When when Anna pulls Elsa's glove off, which glove does she pull off? Elsa's left or Elsa's right?
Her right.
No.
Dang it. Had a
Yeah.
50-50 chance.
Yeah, you did, and you blew it. It's her left because she kind of pulls it behind her, and then as she's walking up the mountain, you can see that it's still like they at least kept the consistency of she didn't get the glove back. She's walking up the mountain, and it was the left. Um, what is Hans's full title?
I I have no idea.
Prince Hans of the.
Southern Isles?
There you go. Just you killed it.
Yay.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna
Uh,
be some weird title.
no,
I thought you were gonna trick
nah,
me.
nah, no. We're all good. Um, with the song "In Summer," um, Olaf does a little dance number with some birds behind him. How many birds are behind him?
2?
No. 4. There's 2 on each side. Da
Ah.
da
Okay.
da 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 da. And then in that same, this is the last one. So take a breath of a sigh of relief here. Um, there you go. In that same musical number, there's a scene with Anna and Elsa. No, with Anna and Kristoff
Kristoff?
and Sven sitting on a hilltop having a picnic with Olaf. What is Sven eating?
Carrots?
No. It's a picnic. Come on.
Sandwiches?
They are holding sandwiches, but he's not eating one. The two of them are holding like these stacked up sandwiches, which I thought was interesting since they finish each other's sandwiches. But that's not them that does that. It is a big old cherry pie. He's just burying his face right in there. Which I thought was adorable, which is what drew my attention to it. Rosita said sandwich. Uh, how many
I
blocks?
was like
Jared said how many
feeding my
blocks of ice
kids.
on Kristoff's sled, before or after it fell off the cliff. Um, it's yeah, it's a fun thing. We have fun. We have fun doing the trivia. I hope you guys do too. Again, please hit like on it if you can. Let's talk about the fact that this is a pretty intense movie, right?
Hmm.
They actually made, I don't know if you ever saw it, but they made a trailer called "If Frozen Was a Horror Film," and I don't know it.
Really?
Yeah, you can look it up on online, and it's just like all those black cuts to like just all the things that happen and how creepy it can be. Um, but it's really an intense thing. They put this dramatic music. They shade the edges with black. You see the parents dying. It's just Anna laying there, like, crestfallen, and Elsa being heartbroken, and the begging and the crying and the pleading. It's pretty intense. And like those ice shards that she makes, that she like seems to all of a sudden know how to do that right from the start and just put up in their faces. But you should look it up. It is entertaining. It is called Frozen as a horror trailer. But the funny part about that is they have this really, like, there's something creepy about little kids, and we know that from like the Tower of Terror, right? When she's singing, it's raining, it's pouring. In it, they make this very quiet, like, echoey sound, and baby Anna, is like leaning over Elsa, and she goes, "Do you want to build a snowman?" And it's just like, wait a minute. It's just they found a way to make this creepy. So it's fun seeing all like that fan-driven stuff that came off of this one. There's also a guy who makes the Honest trailers, and in it they talk about, he talks about the, how is she making clothes, and characters live and things like that we talked about earlier. But that's a fun one to see. So if you haven't already, check it out. I can't play too much of it because copyright and all that fun stuff.
I think it was on the DVD where the songwriters were talking about when they made the song Let It Go, they had intended for Elsa to be the villain of the story. But then when they came up with that song, they decided, oh no, this is too good, she can't be a villain. And they kind of did a whole bunch of rewrites to it after that so that she wasn't the villain. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, which is what makes it vary so much from the Snow Queen and the story of the Snow Queen, because in the Snow Queen it's all kind of evil. So there was also, when you were talking about the making of, there was a making of video that they did that was on the original Frozen DVD, and there weren't many features on the original Frozen DVD, but they did this whole thing about the making of Frozen. Do you remember that at all? So it was Josh Gad, and it was like the whole cast, and they were doing this like musical number about the making of Frozen. And they're right outside, and they go into the animation studio, and they're doing this whole thing. And that's Jonathan Groff and Josh Gad, and they just go through and they do this whole thing, and it's like this whole build up, and they go, like, how was Frozen made? And they go, we don't know, and they sit down, and it's over. And that was the only bonus feature that was on there. And it burned into my mind when I watched it. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm all about the inside. Like, give me the inside scoop on how the movie was made and what were people thinking and all this other stuff. And it was just like, how was it made? We don't know. And they sit down and it's over and it's just done. So very funny. We've obviously seen a lot of making of stuff since then on how this was put together, but that was something that was pretty fun. The only other thing we didn't talk about with cast, and you touched on a little bit with Alan Tudyk, is amazing. And because he was the Duke of Weselton in this one, he becomes Duke Weaselton in the Zootopia movie. And I was just like, it was too good. They make fun of Frozen, like the bootleg DVDs he's selling. I mean, the whole thing is just really is really funny, that whole thing. But Alan Tudyk is also gonna, he's their Lucky Charm, as you said. He was Hey Hey. He's gonna be in the new Wish. He was in Strange World. So good for him.
I can't wait for Andor season 2, because that he's gonna finally be there.
Yeah,
my favorite droid.
Neko apparently posted the trailer in Weeks Cord, so good. I hope you guys enjoy it at another time. We still have a few more things to talk about with this one, but you know what? It's fun to see that kind of stuff. But it became such a cultural phenomenon, this movie, and there's a lot of stuff that I look at when I'm going to like Disney parks, and I go, I wish there was more this. Zootopia is definitely one. There's rumors that we're getting it in Shanghai, but there's rumors we're gonna get something. Josh D'Amaro gave kind of a what if we brought this to Animal Kingdom, not in the way that I thought that they would bring it to Animal Kingdom, because I still stand by the fact they should make a train of the Tea Train, but enclose it and make that be some kind of a Hogwarts Express that goes straight to a land out where Rafiki's Planet Watch is now. Use some extra land they have out there and make a full-on Zootopia that's hidden from the
That would
rest
be
of the
cool.
aesthetic of the park, because the aesthetic of the park is not that cartoony thing. It's very
Right.
natural. And so I want there to be
Mm-hmm.
those things, and I want it to be for kids, and I want it to be there, but I want it to be off in the distance. This one seems to indicate it would be more of a, taking over the dinosaur attraction with the same Zootopia attraction they're making for Shanghai, the race through the police, with the police car and the chase and all that kind of stuff. So I would like to see things like that happen. But with Frozen, they kind of jumped right into it, and they put some stuff where they're like, "Hey, we're taking the Maelstrom," which I saw some people talking about in chat earlier in Epcot, and we're going to be stripping it down, and we're going to make Frozen. And to me, I was like, I liked the Maelstrom. It was an original, but when they opened up Frozen, I forgave it instantly because I was like, this is better. I mean, it felt better. It's not more authentic. If what we're going for is authentic Norway, that's not it, because we've already established this is a pretend place. But I love that attraction.
While while I love the mural from the original Maelstrom, I really like the queue here in the new, is it Frozen Ever After is the name of the ride.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I really like the queue with the Oaken's trading post in the middle of it. I think it's super cute. Um, I I miss the troll from the original Maelstrom, and I think that my only other complaint about this ride is the glowing faces just kind of creeps me out.
Which they're fixing in the Tokyo version. And if you haven't seen,
Oh,
there is
good.
actual animatronic faces, and they're amazing.
Oh, of course
Um,
they have that.
well, maybe they'll retro, like they'll retrofit the one that we have. Because I agree. I mean, when you get to the summer house at the end and you see the necks don't match the face,
Yeah.
that takes you out of it a little bit. I do like
Hmm.
how well animated some of it is. Like, I think that the Anna and Kristoff and Sven scene is very well animated. I think that the Sven
Hmm.
um, and Olaf are well
Olaf.
animated. But when you get
Yeah.
into the sisters themselves, that's where you see kind of like the neck is a different color from the face because of the way they were doing it. And you would think you could change the contrast on that
Right.
and match it up a little bit. I mean, I do that, you do that in Photoshop all the time, right? So like, let's just
Hmm.
change the contrast a little bit. I mean, there's got to be a way, but I hope that they replace those characters with the ones that they've put together for Tokyo. It seems like it would make a lot of sense to do. But I like the attraction, and I'm glad. I feel like that was an upgrade. Not every attraction can we say was an upgrade, and this one again, there are a lot of people who will love Maelstrom. Um, Dawn says another reason my kid dislikes Frozen, it replaced the Maelstrom. Um, and then Rosita said, I
Oh.
really hope they do change that because the faces do look creepy. And it kind of works in more cartoonish ways, right? When you see them in the eyes blink with Sebastian in the Little Mermaid attraction, or you see the like Dopey and Doc and Grumpy. I mean, it's still a little off, but because their beards shape their faces, it's not terrible there. But with the girls, with Anna and Elsa, it's bad. Um,
It's bad.
but the Frozen sing along that they do at Hollywood Studios, I love that.
Cute. Adorable. Yes, love it.
And again, it can be pushing right up to the edge of corny because of the way they do it with the narrators and people of Arendelle and telling the story of Arendelle. But man, at the very end, when Elsa comes out and does Let It Go, and she does the bringing up the lights and the inflatable stuff and the wind, and it starts snowing, and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's happening. Like, that's the payoff right there. I'm all for it. Sometimes when Anna comes out and she like tilts her foot up, like trying to be the character, or Kristoff comes out
Hmm.
because he's looking around for I don't know. There's some of it that's just a little bit cornball, but as a whole, I think that for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing along, I think is what it's called, is really good. They
Hmm.
had it at Disneyland in the place that is
Did they?
now. Yeah, it was in the theater, I believe, and somebody could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it was in the theater where Muppet Vision was, that they put it in there, and then they replaced it with some Marvel previews, and now it's PhilharMagic because they put a Frozen musical in the Hyperion Theater, which is not playing anymore. So they had this Aladdin
Right.
musical that played forever. It was amazing. It was cool, different. And then they bring in the Frozen one, and it was a little bit longer than the other one, but I thought it was well done. And then they closed that. They put the one on Broadway. That one closed during COVID. Actually, was when it had its final run. It wasn't
Right.
just temporarily closed. It was they were like, we're done. And then they did a touring, which I got to see the touring, and it's neat because they delve more into some of the things because they're making it longer, like the Wandering Oaken, like
Mm-hmm.
the Huga. No, it's just
That's Danish. There. See, it's not all Norway.
yeah. There you go. But that whole scene I think is really neat that they've added to that. So we had, and that's again where this came from. But they have the Frozen sing along in the parks, and they have they've added it to basically every show. You mentioned adding it to Happily Ever After. I feel like which one? I feel like that they've added it to pretty much all the shows, but they don't always pick the song you want them to add.
Right.
So
Uh, it's been, sequel songs recently. So it's definitely not songs I would want them to add.
Into the Unknown.
Yes.
Um, Remembering the Dream said, I got more excited for the Frozen show than my daughter that dragged me into it. Plus, it was the Christmas version. So they do one with the kind of the Olaf's uh, adventure where they add like a Christmas ending to it, which I've not seen in person, but that's mostly because I can't drag my family in to watch it with me. I want to see it. I want to see it every time. I kind of love that. When I was a kid, never wanted to see the shows or the parades or the fireworks, and now I always want to see that stuff when I go to the parks. So it's neat to see when they
Same.
do that. The other thing is they just redid Blizzard Beach.
Oh, well, I, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm still very sad about Ice Skater.
I thought Ice Skater
Although
was
I
still
think it
there.
makes sense. No, they
I thought they
replaced him.
I thought they just replaced. Oh well, I mean, in the kid zone.
Yeah, they replaced him
Yeah.
with Olaf. I
Right.
think he's
And
gone across the park. I could be wrong. I haven't
no, I
been
I
since
think
they've
the
done that.
statue's still there at the front. I think that it's basically though they rethemed the kiddie area. So it's got young Olaf and I'm not young Olaf, young Sven and Kristoff and young Anna and Elsa, which I think is weird to go with that, but I guess it's a kid zone, so it's better that there aren't adults in the in there when it's a kid zone. But it made me think of that today when I was watching the movie because when the movie opens up, it really kind of opens up with young Kristoff
Kristoff.
and young Olaf.
Hmm.
So why do I keep saying
That's the
Olaf? I
whole
mean Sven.
reason. That's the whole reason they've got the ice cutting thing is just to show you young Kristoff and Sven. 'Cause
Uh,
why else would it?
Yeah, and they just added those two. I think. I think they added the Anna and Elsa when they first did it, and then uh, they added the other part. Um,
They
Hi-
probably only wanted to add Sven, but felt like it wouldn't make sense unless Kristoff was there too.
but come
Because
on,
Sven is adorable. Look at that.
absolutely.
Super
Yep,
cute.
all about it. All about it. That's cute. So again, what like we just said. It's been 10 years this November, and this upcoming November will have been 10 years, and yet it's everywhere. It feels like, and again, and not to a point where I think that it's too much, but sometimes it has felt that way. When they did the Winter Games at the Blizzard Beach, I thought that felt a little weird. That was like kind of just a temporary thing that they did.
I don't
But
think I
in
remember that.
general, I think they've done a good job with it. But I think they've probably done just enough. Like I'm not ready to for there to
Yeah.
be necessarily something else. I know that they're going to have a Wandering Oak and roller coaster, in some of the frozen lands, and they've got castles and things like that. So I like the mix of it that we have. I don't think we necessarily need more in the parks.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if they added a frozen land. Um, but if they added the frozen land, maybe put a different character on the stage show with Mickey. And maybe replace some of the scenes in the nighttime shows. But I think it would be cool to have a frozen land. And if we had a frozen land, I'm just saying maybe it would be overkill to have all of the other stuff we already have right now.
That is kind of the problem. They sort of paint themselves into a box with, like, you know, they could do a whole Star Wars park, but we already have a Star Wars land. So
Right.
that's now kind of weird. And the same thing with, like, when they made Star Wars Land, but it doesn't connect to Star Tours because it's different and it's
Right?
far away from where Star Wars Launch Bay is. And yeah, it's kind of
Why do
nuts.
we have three different Star Wars areas in the same park? I don't get it.
I think a lot of them are going to be probably. Um, I think they're going to sunset the idea of the Star Wars launch bay.
Sequel
I think that's
trilogy?
going to. I
Oh,
think the
yeah.
Star Wars launch bay will go away. I don't think you should get rid of Star Tours, but they could do an overlay, of something else on that and use the same
I
simulators.
I feel like there has to be a way to connect Star Tours to, Galaxy's Edge, whether
There
it
is
be
you
like
you
a
you blow over the Muppets, and
well,
I don't want you to do that.
without blowing up the Muppets. There's got to be a way that there's like a tunnel or a bridge going over the Muppets so that, maybe you don't see it on stage. You don't see Star Tours from the front on stage anymore, but there's like a back way to get there from Galaxy's Edge. I don't know. I don't want to get rid of the Muppets, but I feel like there needs to be better continuity.
Okay. All right. We'll make a call. Um, Speaking of Hollywood studios and Frozen, there's an Olaf meet and greet area. Does that need to happen? That there needs to be an Olaf meet and greet area?
No. And
I
I
mean,
don't I don't like the Olaf meet and greet because he's gigantic. He's way bigger than he needs to be, size wise. And
yeah.
the character looks weird with the arms. I don't know. I don't like it.
He-
I would have rather met, I don't know, Kristoff and Sven, since we already have the Anna and Elsa meet and greet at Epcot. So I don't know. Olaf kind of creeps me out, that particular one. I would probably rather see a Sven animatronic or something, but that's just me.
Kind of like
If you're
a
going to put something there.
like a BB-8 sort of a situation. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah, no,
on,
that's
come on in
creepy.
and give him a big old hug. He's cute. Come on, he's kind of cute. I
He's
wish
too
though.
big and the arms aren't right.
But
He
speaking of
creeps me
speaking of
out.
BB-8, they could have done something a little bit more like an animatronic character in this meet and greet that
Yeah.
was accurate size.
I mean,
Something that was a little bit of a puppet or something like that.
they had Baby Groot too. They could have done something
Yes,
more like that.
with the guy that I always refer to as Star-Lord Steve because he looked nothing like Peter Quill. It's like I look more like Peter Quill than this dude did. I mean, it was bad. It was like,
I
you
could
just
see you
you
as Peter Quill.
no, not at all. That's what I'm saying. It's like you put a red jacket on this dude and you're like, "Yep, that's Star-Lord. We'll put the mask on him, please," because he's not pulling it off at all. And there's your excuse right there. Just put the mask on him. But I think the problem was that he had to be the kind of the he was like the assistant to you meeting Baby Groot, and it wasn't really about that.
Right.
I love how far off task we're getting with this one, but let me get back to the movie again, just because again it spawned so much. It meant a lot. I think there were a lot of people who have watched this movie over the years that it meant a lot to them because they saw it as a kid. We all have those kind of touchstones. For me, it's Tron. Tron was one of those that I saw as a kid. It meant so much to me, and now like I wouldn't recommend it to anybody because it's the original Tron 1982. It was ahead of its time, and yet now it doesn't stand the test of it. I don't think, but I loved it, and so to me, like that's the one I have that nostalgia for, and I think that my daughter probably had a little bit of nostalgia for Frozen, probably more so Princess and the Frog, but it's one of those things that a lot of people probably have nostalgia for it because it happened when they were a kid, and then we still have experiences in the parks with the Anna and Elsa meet and greet, which I think is really well done. Um, I did go and meet Queen Elsa. I mean, I'm
Oh,
not trying to brag or anything, but I did get my picture taken with Queen Elsa once. Is Elsa
Can you still
considered a
call her
Disney?
Queen Elsa?
But okay, but at the time, it was before Frozen 2. So that's a good thing is to ask is like, um, is she a princess? Like, does she count as a Disney princess? Because I remember when the movie came out, trying to get there were these two soft dolls. There were these two soft dolls, one for Anna and one for Elsa, and my daughter wanted the Elsa one, and we couldn't find it anywhere. It was like it was impossible to get. It was a Disney store thing. You could not find it anywhere. It was so hard to find. There was another version that was Anna, and then you lift the dress up, and on the other side it's Elsa. And so it
Oh,
was like a reversible doll, and it was like, nah, that's not the one. We need
that's
to have
weird.
like the straight up, the real deal
Why would you
Elsa.
ever want that doll?
I don't know.
Why would you?
I don't know.
It seems like if you wanted both Anna and Elsa, you would just get two dolls.
Right.
Who made that merchandising decision?
I would like to say Bob Chapek, but I don't know how far back that went. Um,
I feel like if
this
you're
it,
going to have a reversible doll, it should be like Anna or Elsa in her coronation dress, and then you flip it around, and then it's Elsa in her, Let It Go dress.
that's what I'm
I
saying. This is it.
the That's creepy. I don't like it at all.
That's why it was not going to stand for my daughter to get that one, but she wanted the other one. This was the Disney Parks version, and I guess they were just trying to like capitalize on it without, what if you bought too many Annas and nobody wanted the Elsa or vice versa, right? I just thought it was interesting that it's Princess Anna, and until she's coronated, it's Princess Elsa, but then she's coronated in this movie, and she becomes the queen. And then, as you said later, Anna becomes queen, and then Elsa goes into the unknown. Um,
She's not already the queen because I thought that just like her parents died, she's automatically queen, but she just doesn't get crowned until she's 21. Because
I think
at the
she had to be
beginning they
coronated to
said
become the queen.
the queen has come of age. It kind of
Uh,
makes it sound like she's already queen. Otherwise,
No,
who's
I'm not
been.
going to argue Arendelle politics with you tonight, but maybe another time. The other thing I was going to say is I got this when I went to the Festival of Holidays, which is the holiday traditions where you would go around and find Olaf in World Showcase,
And
and
it's Lord.
so I did get that, and all of the merchandise for the Festival of Holidays was about Frozen. So this is the Magic Band 2.0 that was they were still selling 2.0s, and
And you
anybody who
still had to
watches
buy
any of
it.
the shows knows that I have a problem when it comes to uh, the boxed Magic Bands, no matter what. So they have not found a way to make the limited edition, to my knowledge, Magic Band pluses yet. But when they do, I am in trouble. So, all that said, I feel like this is going to be a moot point to say it, but I feel like we got to do a recap here and kind of let the people know your opinions of this. But again, there's a lot of legacy here with this movie. Almost 10 years. I know I've said it a bunch of times, but it still floors me that this movie is almost 10 years old. And then, we're celebrating the 100 years of wonder. So this has been around for 1/10 of that, which again is shocking. Um, and it was a huge blockbuster around the world, as is evident from this music that it was, they'll let it go in 25 different languages. Um, and so, with all of the things we've talked about with this, we didn't go through the story necessarily, but I felt like people know this story. But I
Hmm.
need you to tell the people, Desi, and I feel like I have a good feeling about what you're going to say on this, but would you recommend this movie?
Yes, I would. I think it's cute. The music is great. I like that it's, you know, not the same kind of story as all of the other princess movies. It takes a little twist to it. And even though I went to go see it just for research, I wound up really liking it and I bought it on DVD, even though I didn't have any kids. And I'm more of a Parks fan, I guess, than a movies fan. But yeah, I really liked it and I still like it. I watched it today for the first time in a while. My kids, who are both boys, were not into it. They were upset. They wanted to watch either The Nightmare Before Christmas or Muppets Christmas Carol. they are still in the holiday season apparently, um, but they did wind up liking it after they sat down and watched it. They were just, a little annoyed that they didn't get to pick tonight's movie at the beginning of it, just because it was a girl movie. But boys like it too.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you said you haven't watched in a while, you're saying this is the first time in forever?
That's exactly what
Anyway,
I'm saying.
yeah, this thing made almost 1.3 billion at the box office and was just a juggernaut hit. I think outpaced anything that Disney thought it would. The Anderson Lopez's, as we call them, music writing team did an amazing job with the music, and I think really kind of rivaled that with what they did in Frozen 2. They were slated to do a movie called Gigantic, but they got pulled in to do the Frozen musical to add some songs to that. So, I think the music is a real touchstone for this movie, but I would recommend it wholeheartedly for anybody. I've watched it, I can't even tell you how many times I've watched this movie, and I still haven't gotten sick of it. It's just a really fun movie. You'll find yourself singing along even when you don't want to, and it's one that I think that you definitely want to know all about before you go to a Disney park, because the Disney parks have got a lot of Frozen in them, and I think for a good reason. This was a big deal movie for them, and so I like that there's a place to go and experience it afterwards in the parks, but it's a good movie to watch. And like I said when the show started, there's a ton more content on Disney Plus for Frozen. Somebody mentioned, would there be a Frozen 3? I don't know. I don't think we need one. I'm not sure we needed Frozen 2, but I don't hate it, like Desi does. But I think that, there's some things that I talk about a lot of times with like Nightmare Before Christmas is the one I always use. It's like, I don't need to see a new one. I don't need to see what would happen if they went to Valentine's Day Land. I think that it needs to stay where it is in that bubble. They told the story perfectly. I feel like you kind of did that with Frozen, but it was neat that there was another adventure and some more to the lore that they had, and it gave us a chance to kind of explore the magic and make sense of what that was a little bit. So maybe someday we'll do a Frozen 2 review. Probably not with Desi, because she doesn't seem to think highly of the movie, but
You
maybe that'll
can't
be a
have
good thing.
people who are happy with every movie every time. I really
Yeah.
want to do Toy Story 4, speaking of movies I'm not happy about.
That's fine, but the problem is we haven't done Toy Story 1, 2, or 3. Does it seem weird to just jump into the worst one?
I mean, that's the one I have the most to say about.
You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe we should do that. I'm sure there's some stuff. We did Tron Legacy and we never touched Tron, so maybe that's one that we should do. Although with the Tron Light Cycle run coming to Disney Magic Kingdom before the end of, hopefully before the summer begins, it might be fun to do a review of the 1982 Tron. But like I said, we've got some other good shows coming up. Patrick is going to come before the end of the month, and we're going to talk about Herbie Goes Bananas, because we've established that he is the Herbie guy. Snow Dogs is on the list, and we'll come up with a couple others. And as always, if you guys want to leave us in the comments what other things you think we should review, we would, or at least talk about. I'm not really sure this is so much of a review as it was kind of just an homage to this movie, because I think we fawned over it for about an hour. So... Anyway, thank you, Desi, for doing that. Thank your kids for putting up with it. I appreciate that.
They wound up liking it.
Of course, of course. Rosita says no Tron. Thank you. Bad Batch. Okay. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we appreciate it. Don't forget, there is a News Tonight coming up tomorrow night, and then we will have Park Center Returns on Sunday. So please join us. We cannot wait to talk to you again about all things parks, and then join us again next Wednesday night for another Deep in the Plus. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you soon.